When we talk about the giants of rock drumming, the ones who didn't just keep time, but redefined it, Dave Grohl and the late Taylor Hawkins stand in a league of their own. These weren't just musicians sitting at the back of the stage. They were architects of rhythm, sculpting the heartbeat of every song they touched. Grohl, of course, first etched his name into rock legend as the powerhouse drummer of Nirvana, a whirlwind of energy, precision, and raw emotion. With every crash of the cymbals and snap of the snare, he became part of the DNA of an entire musical era. Hawkins' journey was no less remarkable. Before he became a fixture in the Foo Fighters, he was the relentless, high-energy engine behind Alanis Morissette during her Jagged Little Pill era, a role that took him to the biggest stages in the world. When he eventually joined forces with Grohl and the Foo Fighters, the chemistry was instant and electric. This was more than a drummer replacing another drummer. This was two masters of their craft meeting in the middle, trading roles, challenging each other, and pushing each other to be better. At any given show, you might see Hawkins stepping up to the mic with a grin while Grohl slipped behind the kit, unleashing a storm of rhythm like it was 1991 all over again. Their bond wasn't just about music. It was about shared DNA, the influences that shaped their style. Grohl's obsession with the Beatles taught him the art of restraint and melody, even in the middle of a thunderous rock song. Hawkins brought in the drama and flamboyance of Queen, the precision of Phil Collins, and an instinct for showmanship that could command any crowd. Both worshipped Neil Peart of Rush, whose otherworldly precision and adventurous arrangements set the gold standard for progressive rock drumming. But underneath it all, there was a subtler, more personal influence. A drummer who didn't always get his due in greatest of all time conversations, but who shaped both Grohl and Hawkins in profound ways. Stewart Copeland of the Police. For most casual fans, when the conversation turns to iconic drummers, the names are predictable: John Bonham, Keith Moon, Ginger Baker. They were loud, they were wild, they were unforgettable. For the purists, you'd also hear about Neil Peart's mathematical genius, Hal Blaine's unmatched session catalog, or even Ringo Starr's deceptively simple feel. But Stewart Copeland's name, too often it's left hovering just out of frame. And that's a shame, because his influence ripples through generations of drummers. Copeland was not just a drummer, he was a rhythmic architect. He played with the precision of a studio veteran, but with the daring unpredictability of a punk. He thrived in odd time signatures, weaving syncopated hi-hat patterns and inventive snare accents that turned the Police's songs into rhythmic puzzles, irresistible and unforgettable. And while other drummers were content to fade into the background, Copeland made the drums a lead instrument. You didn't just hear them, you followed them. Dave Grohl remembers it well. "I grew up listening to the Police, man," he said with the kind of reverence usually reserved for first loves. One of his most surreal moments came years later, long after Foo Fighters had become a stadium-filling force. The band invited Copeland to join them for a performance of "Next to You," a Police classic. The experience didn't end with the last chord. They boarded a private jet from New York to Los Angeles together. Grohl still recalls sitting there, almost in disbelief. "I just kinda sat there thinking, what the fuck am I doing with my life right now?" Listening to his stories about the band, that was something I'll never forget. For Taylor Hawkins, the connection to Copeland was equally personal. In an interview with Metal Hammer, he described Copeland as his first drum hero. The seed was planted thanks to his older brother, who gifted him a copy of the Police Around the World video when he was just a kid learning to play. Hawkins devoured it, absorbing every flick of Copeland's wrists, every sly rhythmic shift. It wasn't just about technique, it was about attitude, that fearless way Copeland played, as if the drums were the main storyteller in the band. The connection between the Police and the Foo Fighters might not be obvious at first glance. One was a reggae-infused punk meets new wave trio from the late 70s and early 80s. The other, a hard-hitting, melody-rich rock powerhouse born in the mid-90s. But in spirit, they shared a philosophy. The drums don't just keep the beat, they drive it. Without Stewart Copeland showing the world that a drummer could lead from behind the kit, it's possible Grohl and Hawkins might have been content to stay in the shadows. Instead, they followed Copeland's example, stepping boldly into the spotlight, not just as musicians, but as frontline forces in their own right. And that's the legacy, a chain of inspiration stretching from Copeland's intricate hi-hat patterns, through Grohl's sledgehammer snare hits, into Hawkins' graceful yet explosive fills. 3 drummers, 3 eras, one unbroken line of musical fire. It's a reminder that behind every iconic rock song, whether it's Roxanne, Everlong, or Best of You, there's someone behind the kit who isn't just keeping time, but changing it. You can hear traces of Stewart Copeland's influence woven deep into the Foo Fighters catalog if you know where to listen. In tracks like All My Life, Grohl's crisp, syncopated hi-hat patterns in the verses echo the same playful precision Copeland brought to the Police. On times like these, the dynamic rise and fall of the drum arrangement feels like a direct nod to Copeland's ability to build tension with subtle ghost notes before exploding into a full chorus. Even Hawkins' live performances of Best of You often featured bright, ringing ride cymbal work and unexpected snare placements, hallmarks of a drummer who isn't content to just follow the beat, but to reshape it in real time. This shared rhythmic philosophy wasn't accidental. It was part of how both men approached drumming as storytelling. Copeland had shown them that the kit could be more than the backbone. It could be a lead voice in the song. For Grohl and Hawkins, that meant drums weren't simply there to support the band. They could push it forward, pull it back, or throw in a curveball that made the audience lean in just a little closer. That's why their performances were never static. Every night felt alive, unpredictable, and human.